Okay, this is the second book I'm reading called Joha Makes a Wish. The day was hot and the road was long. Joha was walking to Baghdad. He hoped to study with the great rabbi and teacher, Sadia Goan. Rabbi Sadia had translated the Torah into Arabic so that those who spoke the Arabic language could read and understand God's word. Joha stopped to rest in the shadow of a ruined wall. The shade feels good, Joha said to himself. Joha leaned against the wall. The old bricks gave way. He fell backwards and landed atop a sealed jar that had been hidden in the wall. I wonder what's in this jar, Joha said. He broke the wax seal. Inside, he found a stick wrapped in parchment scroll. Joha unrolled the scroll. The writing on it was written in an ancient alphabet. I wish I could read this, Joha said. Suddenly, he could. Stranger, you have found a wishing stick. Use it wisely. It can make your wishes come true. Underneath the message was also a signature. Shlomo ben David. Shlomo ben David. That means Solomon, son of David. King Solomon. Joha knew that Solomon, king of Israel, was a just ruler and gave the wisest man who ever lived. He was also a master of magic. God gave Solomon the power to command demons. This wishing stick must have belonged to King Solomon. Let me try it. What will I wish for? He looked down at his worn-out sandals. I could use some new shoes. Joha held the wishing stick in his hand. He closed his eyes. I wish I had a real pair of red leather slippers. He opened his eyes. He looked down at his feet. He did not have a pair of red leather slippers. He did not have a pair of worn-out sandals either. His sandals had disappeared. Joha howled with anger. What kind of wishing stick is this? Did Solomon trick me? I wished for slippers, and now I don't even have sandals. I will have to walk all the way to Baghdad in my bare feet. Joha glared at the stick in his hand. You wicked stick, I wish you would disappear. Instead of disappearing, the stick stuck tight to his hand. This made Joha even angrier. I lost my sandals because of the stick. Now, I can't even get rid of it. He continued down the road to Baghdad, muttering to himself while trying to shake off the stick. You evil stick, you miserable stick, you unworthy stick. Make way, make way! A troop of the Sultan's guards trotted past. A little donkey followed behind their horses. Joha hurried to get off the road. Those guards are nothing but bullies. It's best to have nothing to do with them, Joha grumbled to himself as the guards rode by. Still, I wish I could have a donkey like that to carry me the rest of the way to Baghdad. The guards reined in their horses. Did you hear that? Their leader said. This fellow wishes he had a donkey to carry. Let's make his wish come true. No, no, cried Joha. That's not what I said. But the guards were having too much fun to listen. They made Joha bend over while they lifted the donkey onto his back. Down the road they went, with Joha falling behind, carrying the donkey. Everybody on the road stopped to stare. They'd often seen a man riding a donkey. How often does anyone get to see a donkey riding a man? Hee-haw, hee-haw, the donkey brayed and kicked. The poor animal didn't like being carried any more than Joha liked carrying her. When they arrived at the city gate, the Sultan's guards allowed Joah to put the donkey down and go on his way. Everything I've said so far has gotten me into trouble. It's King Solomon's fault. That stick doesn't work right. From now on, I'm not going to say another word to anyone, Joah vowed as he entered the city. He hadn't gone far when he encountered a procession coming down the main street. It was led by the Sultan himself. Long life to the Sultan, everyone cried as the procession went by. Everyone except Joah. The guards noticed his silence. What's the matter with you? Why won't you wish our Sultan a long life? I've had terrible luck with my wishes all day, Joah explained. I'm afraid that if I wish the Sultan a long life, something dreadful will happen to him. The Sultan overheard Joah talking. Don't be afraid, the Sultan said. If you don't want to wish me a long life, you can wish for something else. Wish for something small. That will be enough. The Sultan pointed to a tiny wart on the end of his nose. This wart had been bothering me for weeks. I'm tired of it. Wish it to go away. I'd rather not, Joah said. Perhaps sitting in a dungeon will change your mind, the Sultan asked. No, Joah replied. He took a deep breath. Holding tight to his wishing stick, he said, I wish the wart on the Sultan's nose would disappear. No sooner had he said those words than the tiny wart began to grow. It grew until it was the size of a grape. Then it split into two. The wart kept growing and splitting until it resembled a bunch of purple grapes hanging from the Sultan's nose. The guards began to shout, This man has bewitched the Sultan. Seize him. Off with his head. The guards reached for Joah, but he slipped away and ran. The Sultan's guards chased him through the winding streets all the way to the Dar al-Yahud, the city's Jewish quarter. Joah couldn't run much further on his aching bare feet. Quickly, he turned down an alley. He saw the entrance to the shop beneath an awning. An old man sat in front reading a book. Joah ran up to him. Hide me from the Sultan's guards, he pleaded. In here, the old man said. He lifted the lid of the chest. Joah climbed inside. The old man closed the lid. None too soon. The Sultan's guards swarmed into the alley. Did you see a man go by? They asked the shopkeeper. He carried a stick, and he wasn't wearing any shoes. I haven't seen anyone like that, the old man said. The guards moved on. The old man helped Joah out of the chest. What is this all about? He asked. Joah described everything that had happened to him from the moment he found the wishing stick in the jar. All of my misfortunes have come from this stick, Joah wailed. Would that I have ever set my eyes on. A wishing stick? The shopkeeper exclaimed. Now that is something rare. King Solomon is said to have owned one. May I see it? Joah held out the stick, which was still stuck to his hand. No wonder you're having bad luck, said the old man, who was really Sadia Goan himself, told him. The Sefer Shlomo HaMikla, the book of King Solomon, talks about wishing sticks and other magical things. You're holding the stick upside down. The notched end belongs at the top. If the stick is upside down, your wishes will be upside down too. What should I do? Joah asked. Turn the stick around and make a wish. Joha turned his wrist so that the notched end was at the top. I wish this stick would fall from my hand, he said. The stick clattered to the ground. Joha stretched his fingers. He picked up the stick right away, the right way this time, and said, I wish I had my old sandals back. His sandals suddenly appeared on his feet, as dusty and worn as if he had never taken them off. This wishing stick is a wonderful thing if you know how to use it, said the old man. However, before you make any more wishes, you need to go back to the Sultan and fix his nose. It's the right thing to do. Joha agreed. He thanked the old man and walked towards the palace. He snuck by the guards and crept into the throne room. The Sultan was looking in a mirror and clutching his nose. By now, his wart looked like a whole harvest of grapes. You, the Sultan cried when he saw Joha. Look what you have done to me. I've come back to fix it, said Joha. He held the wishing stick with the notched end up and said, I wish the wart on the Sultan's nose would disappear. The wart vanished. The Sultan's nose was smooth again. Everyone congratulated Joha. The Sultan was especially pleased. Is that really a wishing stick? May I see it? He asked. Joha handed over his wishing stick. I've always wanted to own a wishing stick, the Sultan said. Now, I can add this one to my treasures. He gave the wishing stick to one of his servants. Put this stick in my private chamber. I will be there shortly. He stroked his beard. What should I wish for? But, cried Joha, he never meant to give the Sultan his wishing stick. I see what you want, the Sultan said. You'd like a reward in return. That's fair. What can I give you? How about a donkey? Yes, a donkey will do. He ordered his guards to bring a donkey from the stables and give it to Joha. It turned out to be the same donkey that Joha had carried all the way to Baghdad. Well, donkey, Joha said as he climbed onto the donkey's back, I lost my wishing stick, and I never got to meet Rabbi Sadia. But at least I have you. I carried you once. It's only fair that you carry me now. Together they rode away. As they passed through the streets, Joha asked the donkey, Donkey, do you think I should go back and tell the Sultan that he has to hold the stick the right way? Hee-haw, the donkey brayed. I agree, said Joha. He can figure that out for himself. But he never did. The end.